The most terrifying voids aren't in deep space, they're in the official record. The quiet, empty spaces where a story was supposed to be. In the summer of 1999, the air tasted of smoke and something ancient. On the other end of a failing radio signal, men trained to face infernos described a different kind of darkness seeping through the trees. Their voices, preserved on magnetic tape, grew thin as they spoke of a line being drawn in the ash, a border against the encroaching night. The final dispatch log was classified for over 20 years. What follows is a reconstruction of those last recorded hours. File designation 0799J7, the Silent Perimeter Incident. The source is a set of reel-to-reel radio logs from the U.S. Forest Service's Northern Cascade Dispatch Center, dated July 1999. The tapes suffered significant magnetic degradation and water damage before acquisition. What you are about to hear is an AI-driven reconstruction. Our process attempts to rebuild coherent conversation from fragmented data, but artifacts and gaps in the record are unavoidable. The file documents the deployment of a 4-person smoke jumper unit, call sign Jumper 7, to a remote wildfire in the Okanogan National Forest. The operation was expected to last 48 to 72 hours. No member of the team was ever seen again. The first coherent transmission was logged at 16:42 Pacific Time, July 12th. Dispatch, this is Jumper 7 lead. We are on the ground. 4 jumpers, all green. LZ is secure. Beginning initial assessment now. Over. His tone is exactly what you'd expect. Calm, professional, unhurried. The initial assessment was routine. The fire was small, moving slowly through ground cover. At this stage, it's just procedure. By 1800 hours, JUM PER-7 had established a base camp. The logs indicate standard operational tempo. Dispatch, Jumper 7-2 IC camp established at grid 9 or 4, all gear accounted for. Fire is low and slow. We'll have the primary line dug before nightfall. Over. It was a textbook operation. Everything was under control. The sounds are mundane, familiar, the sounds of work. Fire has stalled at the scree field. No threat of it jumping the ridge tonight. Wind is dying down. I have eyes on the western perimeter. It's odd. There's a clearing on the opposite slope. It's a perfect line. Ruler straight for at least half a mile. Not a fire break. It's clean, like it was scraped. Over. He is not describing a natural formation. Jumper 7, say again on that clearing. Did you say scraped? Can you confirm you're not looking at an old service road? Over. Negative. Dispatch. There's no debris. It's a straight cut through old growth. It's deliberate. The word, scraped, seems to be the point of confusion. It implies intent. It implies effort. Dispatch? Disregard. It's a trick of the smoke, heat shimmer off the slope, nothing. We're proceeding with the primary fire line as planned. Thorn out. He moves on, returning to the fire, the mission, the known variables. Dispatch accepts the explanation without further comment. In the official log, the entry is brief. J7 reports visual anomaly, likely smoke distortion. It was the last time anyone would refer to it as a trick of the smoke. File processing continues. We advanced the logs by 48 hours to July 14, 1999. For 2 days, Thorne's reports are routine. Wind speed, humidity, containment percentages. The language of a man doing his job. Then, the focus shifts. The archival data shows his GPS transponder is no longer moving along the fire's perimeter. He's gone back to the anomaly he mentioned on day 1. The fire, now designated a secondary concern, is left to smolder. The objective has changed, though no official order reflects this. The log entries become shorter, more specific. The first reconstructed audio from the 14th is Thorne's voice, the background hiss of the radio unable to mask his controlled breathing. He confirms the clearing is man-made. But his description is strange. The trees weren't felled with saws. The stumps are splintered, shattered 2 or 3 feet from the base, as if broken by a colossal hydraulic press. He notes the absence of drag marks or sawdust. The trees, some of them tons in weight, were simply removed from the path. He reports he is following the line to its terminus. Dispatch asks him to confirm he is leaving the fire line. There is a 3-second pause filled only with static. Confirmed. The next transmission is logged 32 minutes later. Thorne has reached the end of the line. It terminates at a small, primitive camp. His report is delivered in a monotone. A small lean-to, constructed from fallen logs and packed earth, built against a rock face. A fire pit, ringed with stones. But the details are wrong. The fire pit is clean. No ash, no charcoal, not even the faint scorch marks of a recent flame. The entire site is immaculate, yet clearly abandoned. Before Thorne speaks, our reconstruction picks up 15 seconds of his breathing, steady and slow, the sound of a man trying to control his heart rate. Here, the professional detachment in Thorne's voice begins to thin. He inventories the site. No food stores, no water containers, no bedding, no tools, not an axe, not a knife, not even a sharpened stone. It is a shelter with nothing to sustain a human life. Then, he describes what he did find, and the reconstruction algorithm flags a stress indicator in his vocal pattern. On a flat stone inside the lean-to, a small collection of objects. I'll play the direct quote. They're wood, carved, interlocking geometric solids. Smooth, heavy. The angles are wrong. Thorne's next transmission is formal, almost stiff, as if he is forcing himself back into protocol. He contacts dispatch with a specific request. The audio is clear. Jumper 7 to dispatch. Requesting any available records for Grid Sector 9. Specifically, registered trap lines, long-term permits, or known hermit sites. Over. Dispatch to Jumper 7. Stand by. That's a -7. Sector 9 is clean. Has been for 30 years. Nothing on file. Over. The log indicates a 5-second silence before Thorne acknowledges the transmission with a simple, copy that. The absence of a follow-up question is, itself, a data point. The final log for July 14th is the most anomalous action taken by Thorne's team during the entire incident. He requests permission to relocate their base camp 2 kilometers south. His stated reason, unstable soil. Dispatch questions this immediately, citing geological survey data that shows the area is solid bedrock. Thorne's reply is clipped, insistent. It's a localized concern. Requesting approval. Permission is granted. Archival note. This move took Jumper 7 further from the fire line, but more importantly, it put 2,000 meters of dense forest between his crew and the camp with the wooden objects. Thorne was creating a buffer zone, using a lie as his justification. The logs from July 15th are where the file's integrity begins to seriously degrade. Data packets are missing. Timestamps become asynchronous. Our reconstruction relies on stitching together fragments, and the resulting timeline is unsettling. The routine check-ins about the fire line stop completely. For 7 hours, there is only silence and the low-amplitude hum of an open channel. Dispatch, this is Jumper 7. Requesting technical specifications on standard issue cordage. Jumper 7, say again. Your transmission is breaking up. Sounded like you were asking for cordage specs? Affirmative. Dispatch. Tensile strength. Abrasion resistance. Require documentation. It is the kind of data an engineer might need, or someone who wants to know exactly how much weight a thing can hold before it breaks. Log of 2340. Wind has died down. Temperature holding at 41 degrees Fahrenheit, but there's a density to the cold tonight. It settles in the low ground. The woods are still, too still. The usual night sounds, the insects, the small animal movements, they're gone. It's a weighted silence. An hour ago, I checked the perimeter. The cairn we built to mark the North Trail is gone, not knocked over. The stones are just gone. The ground beneath is swept clean. I haven't told the others yet. Maintaining morale is paramount. Elias, what is the purpose of this request? Do you have an equipment failure? Negative. Dispatch. Contingency planning. He was cataloging the properties of his own equipment, as if seeing it for the first time. Not as tools, but as components. At 6:52 hours, the primary log is overwhelmed by a signal spike. A high-frequency burst, unauthorized, on a parallel channel. The audio is layered with the sound of wind and heavy, panicked breathing. To anyone, please. He's making us take it all apart. He says they listen for the engine noise. He says they. Her transmission does not fade into static. It is severed. The waveform in the archived data terminates in a vertical line, a clean cut. It is followed by a percussive spike, a sound artifact consistent with a physical impact directly against the microphone. Then, for 22 seconds, there is absolute silence. Dispatch, JUMPER 7. Apologies for the interference. We had a minor personnel issue. It has been resolved. Elias, I need a direct confirmation of Jumper 7-2 status. Put Petrova on, now. Unable to comply. All personnel are accounted for. We are mission capable. Jumper 7, over. File analysis shows that after Petrova's aborted transmission, the nature of communication from Jumper 7 fundamentally changed. The data stream becomes 99% static. Coherent sentences cease. What remains are fragments. Single, clear phrases pulled from hours of white noise by the reconstruction algorithm. They are logged as isolated voice events. Dispatch operator Frank Miller, according to his own logs, initially classified them as auditory pareidolia, his mind creating patterns in the noise. But the patterns were too consistent, too specific. They were not random sounds. They were messages, stripped of all context, delivered into the void. The first reconstructed phrase is logged at 1947 on July 16th. It is Thorne's voice, unmistakable. Calm. Sector 4 is blind. Miller's reply is frantic. He requests clarification on the fire line, on visibility, on smoke density. He receives only static for 42 minutes. Then, a second phrase materializes from the noise. Replace the noisemaker on trap 7. Miller's log notes his confusion. The term, noisemaker, does not appear in any standard Forest Service equipment manifest. The term, trap, does not appear in any firefighting manual. Thorne was no longer speaking the language of a smoke jumper. He was describing something else entirely. The fragments become more disturbing. At 23:09, a 3-word transmission, chord is taught, then 90 minutes of silence. At 0:41, the most alarming phrase is recorded. It is again Thorne's voice, but the reconstruction algorithm notes microscopic stress indicators, a slight increase in pitch and cadence. The words themselves are chillingly practical. Use the chainsaw teeth for the west wall. They were no longer maintaining equipment, they were cannibalizing it. The tools of rescue and containment, parachute cord, chainsaw blades, were being repurposed. They were not fighting a fire. They were fortifying a position against an enemy that made no sound. At 1 o'clock on July 17th, dispatch operator Miller makes a formal declaration, citing total communication breakdown and erratic and unintelligible transmissions indicating a compromised command structure. He officially requests immediate aerial extraction for JUMPER 7. He bypasses the normal chain of command, routing the request directly to the Regional Air Rescue Coordinator. The log entry is time-stamped 1:03. A heavy lift chopper, call sign Rescue 3, is scrambled from a base 200 miles away. Its ETA is 3 hours. For a brief period, the official record suggests a resolution. Help was coming. The system was working. But the system is subject to nature. At 1:25, National Weather Service Report T9947B goes active. A massive, unforecasted low-pressure system, a documented meteorological event, slams into the entire sector. Winds exceed 80 miles per hour. A memo from the Air Rescue Coordinator, timestamped 1:45, grounds all air traffic. The order is blunt, no flight. Repeat, no flight for any reason. The grounding is projected to last a minimum of 72 hours. Rescue 3 never left the tarmac. The window of opportunity didn't just close, it was shattered by the weather. Jumper 7 was, for all official purposes, utterly and completely alone. Then, at 2:17, something unexpected happens. The static on the channel ceases. For 3 full seconds, there is perfect, digital silence. And then, Elias Thorne speaks. His voice is not a fragment. It is not pulled from noise. It is a full, clear, declarative sentence, spoken with absolute conviction. The transmission lasts 4 seconds. The perimeter is complete. We are now silent. After that, nothing. The channel went dead, not to static, but to absolute, carrier-off silence. Miller attempted to re-establish contact every 5 minutes for the next 6 hours. He received no reply. The log for Jumper 7 simply ends. For 15 days, there was nothing. The weather front that grounded the initial rescue flight was a documented meteorological event. It stalled over the Cascades, a wall of rain and low pressure that made flight impossible and ground travel a quagmire. On August 1st, 1999, the skies finally cleared. A ground-based search and rescue team, SAR-9, was dispatched into Grid Sector 9. Their journey was slow, hampered by mud and washouts. They carried with them a copy of the Jumper 7 radio logs, a document that grew more unnerving with every mile they covered. The team reached the last known coordinates of Thorne's camp at 14:30 hours on August 2nd. The final SR report begins with a single telling sentence. Initial assessment. Site does not match USFS operational profile. They didn't find a camp, they found a barrier. The SAR team lead described it in his log as a maniacal beaver dam. It was a perimeter wall, woven through the dense pine trees, nearly 6 feet high in places. But it wasn't made of logs, it was made of government equipment. The powerful 2-man chainsaw had been stripped. Its guide bar and a sharpened chain were part of the wall. The portable water pump was gone, its hoses used to lash sharpened saplings together. The generator was a hollowed-out shell, its wiring meticulously unspooled and woven into a crude metallic mesh between 2 large pines. This wasn't destruction. It was deconstruction. Every bolt, every plate, every wire had been repurposed with an engineer's precision. The defense was layered. The outer ring consisted of tripwires, unraveled parachute cord staked low to the ground, almost invisible in the pine needles. According to the report, these were connected to alarms, not electronic ones. Stacks of empty ration cans, carefully balanced on sticks. Any disturbance would have sent them crashing down, an unforgiving clatter in the dead silence of the forest. Deeper in, the ground was seeded with sharpened metal. The teeth from the chainsaw blades, embedded in wood. The impeller blades from the water pump, points up in the soft earth. The SAW team spent 3 hours disarming just one 10-foot section to create a safe entry point. The report notes the team's forensic expert was deeply unsettled by the cold methodology of the construction. Once inside the perimeter, the scene was one of impossible order. There was no sign of a struggle, no blood. AK-9 unit swept the half-acre enclosure and found no scent of human remains. The 4 sleeping bags were laid out in a neat row inside the single surviving tent. 4 backpacks were lined up against a log, their contents undisturbed. A half-eaten ration pack sat next to the cold fire pit, a spoon resting on top. It was, as the SAR team lead wrote, a diorama of a campsite. It was perfectly preserved, and it was completely empty. The 4 members of Jumper 7, Elias Thorne, Lena Petrova, and the 2 other jumpers whose names were redacted from the public file, were gone. The final entry in the main body of the SAR-9 report is clinical. It documents the collection of personal effects and the fruitless search for tracks leading away from the fortified zone. But there is an addendum, a single paragraph, filed separately by the team lead under. anomalous findings. My reconstruction of the archive has flagged this entry for its high level of contextual deviation. I will read it to you verbatim. Addendum 802.99. In the geometric center of the fortified encampment, searchers located a collection of carved wooden objects. These objects matched the description of those from the initial discovery site reported by Jumper 7 Leadthorn on July 14th. They were not scattered. They were arranged in a precise, inbound spiral pattern. The official investigation was quietly closed a year later. The 4 smokejumpers were declared deceased, their cause of death listed as unspecified in a wilderness setting. The file remains open, but inactive. The implications of that final addendum were never addressed in any public document. The perimeter wasn't a defense against the strange carvings, it was a frame. The obsessive construction, the silent, methodical work, it wasn't an act of fear. It was an act of creation. Thorne wasn't fighting what he found in the woods, he was joining it. The final question is not what happened to JUMPER 7. It's what did Jumper 7 become? End of reconstruction. Active feed archive file 0799-J7 is now closed.